Using carbon negative construction materials really helps the construction industry as a whole because it reduces the embodied carbon of those developments, of those new build or retrofit projects. If we use bio-based materials, then we'll take in the carbon that's photosynthesized by the plants from the atmosphere. They release oxygen, which is obviously a good thing for, as humans, we breathe oxygen, and then that biomass is used to make different construction insulation materials, which locks up that biogenic carbon that's been sequestered by the plants long-term into the built environment. So it really allows us to accelerate the removal of carbon from the atmosphere and lock that carbon up into buildings. There's a lag in the adoption of materials, I think probably driven by some delays in legislation. There's Part Z around planning that looks at whole life carbon of developments and buildings, which hasn't been fully implemented yet. We've got a future home standard that unfortunately didn't really go far enough as far as embodied carbon, but I think there are some leaders in the sector that are really trying to drive that message forwards, that we need to focus more on whole life carbon assessments of buildings and embodied carbon, not just operational carbon that's been the primary focus in the more recent years. The retrofit industry in the UK I see it's quite collaborative. There's various different bodies like National Retrofit Hub, the UK Green Building Council that are really trying to collaborate with industry partners and drive forwards the retrofit solutions and delivery. Ultimately, it needs accelerating. There's still circa 27 million residential properties in the UK that need retrofitting to achieve the net zero targets that have been legislated for 2050. So we really need to accelerate. That means bringing more people into the sector, potentially more grant funding or green finance solutions for the able to pay, the willing to pay market in the sector as well. So renewable energy is a great solution when we look at how we decarbonise. We're trying to decarbonise our grid, and ultimately that means moving away from oil and gas and coal. We've been pretty successful at moving away from coal. We now need to move ourselves away from oil and gas. To do that, we need to bring more renewables online, whether that be solar, whether that be wind, whether that be tidal, but we also need energy storage capacity for that renewable power because we'll need to store that so we can use it when it's needed most across the grid.